The other day we saw Air. Aiden, what's the plot of Air?
Air is the true story of the development of the Air Jordans. Nike was on its last legs with its basketball division because they weren't making deals that were working out. And one man decided to risk it all on a up-and-coming rookie named Michael Jordan. And he made some long shots to get there. Connor, what'd you think of Air?
Look, I'm not very much into sports, but I like sports movies.
Me either.
And I like sports documentaries.
Me too.
And I like true story biopics. I'm a sucker for them. And I like Matt Damon, I like Ben Affleck. And I like pretty much everybody that's in this movie.
Jason
Bateman. I had fun watching Air. It was a cool story. I do have my issues with it. I wish Michael Jordan was a more integral part. Michael Jordan is kind of a myth in this movie.
They really...
It was told from the perspective of, Michael Jordan is practically the baby Jesus. And they kind of show his story through archive footage as, this man is very important.
For whatever reason, they refuse to portray him. So they have to awkwardly, shoot around him. And anytime he's in a scene, he's shot from the back. And they'll be like, what do you think, Mike? And he'll just, wave his hand. It's okay.
Right, well, he's almost everything, we know Michael Jordan is fated to be one of the best athletes in American history as an audience. And that is part of the pretense of the film. I suppose if I was from a foreign country and didn't really know Michael Jordan that well, I would be like, oh shit, well, what the fuck? But we in America just kind of know Michael Jordan as a legendary athlete. That's his...
Yeah.
I mean, I'm too young to have seen Michael Jordan play, but I understand and I'm not a huge basketball fan, so I'm not watching stuff, but I know if this fucker was in Space Jam. This fucker was a king of the courts, he was a defensive player and an offensive player.
He was a bad golfer.
Michael Jordan was a bad golfer and a bad baseball player, and his dad got fucking shot with a blicky.
Yeah, and his wife divorced him.
After, all sorts of shit. We know the story of Michael Jordan through the zeitgeist. So now we're learning the story of his shoes with this legendary figure looming over. And I don't know how much that worked for me, this angle they took, but I understand what they were going for. You have a very interesting story here. And you have a story that I think people who identify with sneakerheads per se might enjoy. I don't know what I'm trying to
I saw a Letterboxd review for this movie that called it Moneyball for sneakerheads. I was like, that's true. That's true.
Pretty much.
That is what it is.
It's good, It's well shot. There are some awkward scenes. One of the gas station scenes, he meets up with a Michael Jordan hater at the gas station who ultimately says he always knew Michael Jordan was going to be good later. And the first time he comes in, it reminds me of the Oh Hey Doggy scene from The Room. Because he's like, I hate Michael Jordan. And then it instantly cuts and he's like, oh, Michael Jordan's such a good prospect. And then he's like, oh no, I don't think so. And then he goes, okay, thank you, and leaves with his stuff. And it literally felt exactly like that, where the time pacing was really off on it. How a gas station interaction should feel. I awkwardly look for my stuff for 10 minutes when I know exactly what I'm going to get. I go up to the counter. It takes awkwardly long.
Yeah.
They're asking me about my rewards program and shit.
You don't want to walk in and look like you already know.
But he zooms in, grabs his Snickers bar or whatever, walks up and is like, I want the Sports Illustrated, and he says, do you know about that Michael Jordan kid? And he says, yes, I know about Michael Jordan. And he says, what a good kid. And he's like, yep, thank you. And then he leaves. It's like, it was really awkwardly edited. There were some scenes that weren't very well directed and edited, but for the most part, it was pretty well done, and the performances were good. That one scene in particular stands out as feeling particularly Room-ish. Speaking of which, we're gonna have to review the Room remake next year.
Yeah.
As if we didn't already review a Room remake like 2 years ago, 5 years ago now.
Yeah, the Disaster Artist was just...
The Disaster Artist came out like 5 years ago.
The world's clunkiest biopic.
You know, everything is just 2 years ago if it came out after I came out of high school. Like, there's like a 5-year period of time that is just 2 years ago to me.
The Disaster Artist, I still remember the old lady putting her feet in my face at the Disaster Artist.
Yeah, it was weird.
It was a weird show.
The old lady just kicked her shoes off and shoved her feet between us, and we felt too awkward to say anything.
It's very strange.
Very odd.
Anyway, back to Air.
At the art house theater that had like 6 seats in it total, and it was all empty except there was like 3 people in the auditorium, 1 on the other side. Us, and then the lady behind us who decided to kick her feet.
She was like old too. She was like 65 or something. Right. She was gray hair granny, putting her feet up in my face.
It's pretty weird. Anyways, yeah, I don't really have a ton of thoughts on Air. Thought it was good. Not great, but it was a good movie. I don't think it'll like be remembered by me. I'm not gonna think about it ever again. But it's one of those movies that came out, and I had a good enough time watching it for 2 hours, and it wasn't too long, it wasn't too short, it stayed the correct amount of time of welcome. I liked all the actors in it. Matt Damon was really fun. Matt Damon doesn't get enough roles nowadays, but when I see a Matt Damon movie... Matt Damon's pretty hit or miss, but when I like Matt Damon, I enjoy him. He kind of melds into roles for me, and I forget he's Matt Damon, especially nowadays.
He was Fat Damon in this movie.
He was Fat Damon. But anyways, it was fun. So Aiden, what did you think of Air?
I really liked Air. It's high energy, it's really fast paced, and it's surprisingly funny very often. I found myself chuckling. It's not like laugh out loud funny, but it has a lot of little subtle comedy bits with the characters. It's a real easy watch. It's not like the most exciting or interesting biopic, but I think it's like a nice little true underdog story, and it keeps the pace up and it keeps moving, and everyone acts really well, and it's funny when it needs to be, and it's kind of just like this interesting little awkward underdog story of some dude just like risking everything on some weird hunch. Having to shoot around Michael Jordan feels very awkward. I don't know what they were thinking with that, but I think everyone in this movie, like Viola Davis, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, are all really good. I kind of like how they tie it into like Nike's central motto thing sometimes. I think that's kind of an interesting framing device where the chapters are kind of divided out by us seeing parts of like the Nike philosophy. That's kind of neat. I did kind of feel like maybe instead of a biopic, this could have just been a really interesting 30 for 30. And as it turns out, it was a 30 for 30, which I'm sure is very good. I haven't seen that one. I have seen quite a few 30 for 30s.
30 for 30 typically is pretty good. I own season 1 on DVD.
I think this story would make... I'm sure the episode, the 30 for 30 about this, is a really fun one. Because it's a fun and interesting story. The movie's shot well, paced well, funny. It pretty much is what you'd expect. It is a biopic about Air Jordans. There's no real surprise or twist, but it's a well-made biopic. It's fun. I found it constantly entertaining. It didn't have like a lot of slow or boring or sappy points. It was kind of lots of just like, here's what happened, and then here's something funny that happened, and this and this. And through that, it kept up the energy. Perhaps someday, if I ever get ESPN Plus again, I'll watch the 30 for 30 on this. It's an interesting story. It's a well-produced biopic. I thought it was pretty good. Connor, would you recommend Air?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It's a nice movie to see on a nice night. Find an evening. Take your sneakerhead, big titty goth GF to it. Your goth sneakerhead, big titty GF to it. So, Aiden, would you recommend Air?
Yeah, it's nice. It's fast-paced. It's not overly long. I don't know anything about shoes or sports, so people who are big into sports or shoes might get even more out of this, but it's a well-made biopic. It's fun. It's energetic. I enjoyed it a lot. I think it's an easy recommend. It's something you probably don't have to see in theaters because it's not like some thrilling shoot.
It's not particularly a theatrical experience. It just as easily could have been a Netflix original or Hulu.
Well, it's produced by Amazon.
It is.
It's going to be a Prime original, and they brought it to theaters because it was actually good. But someday, you don't really gain anything from seeing it in theaters because it is a movie about dudes talking in boardrooms, but catch it on Amazon. Fun, nice biopic. Interesting story. Easy recommend, I think.